Hi, so super excited today to welcome Monika to the video. This is the first interview that we're doing, so it feels really cool. And I'll let Monika introduce herself a little bit, tell us a bit about the journey that she's taken to get to this beautiful shop.
So I think it was quite an unusual journey because I used to be a journalist and I did not study anything about plants in my life. And from being a journalist, I went to being a self-employed weaver, if that even exists. I've self-taught myself how to weave, and then I was teaching people. And at about the same time, I was really interested in plants. But all of the plants that I really wanted to have or was most interested in most, I could not find. So I figured that there is a niche and that I should be finding those plants for people. And here we are now in a store in Berlin.
And it sounds like a really easy journey, but I'm sure there were difficult things along the way. So
it happened so fast that sometimes I can't believe that I have this store. The store was never really a goal. The goal was to set up a business as an online shop only. And I've done that last year, October. So next month will be just 1 year of Plant Circle. And in the meantime, I was renting a studio where I stored the plants where I was working, and it was a little bit outside of the city. And at some point, I was just tired of the commute, and I was looking for a new space, and found this. And I can't believe, but this was probably the second space that we saw, and we got it. So we like to say with the other guests that we're sharing the space that the kind of like the shop chose us and the shop found us, because it was so quick, everything, that I still can't believe that we're here.
And it's been super nice to watch your journey, because I was probably like one of the earlier adopters to the Plant Circle newsletter, and it was like, first of all, there was this online presence, and it felt like it was really staged, but it sounds like it just happened quite naturally, like snowballed from one thing to the other. Is that how it kind of felt to you, or was it like, okay, we've got a plan, we need to first do the website, then we're going to do
There was no plan.
Online?
There was no plan. I was actually temporarily only in Berlin. I was I moved to Australia about 2 years ago or so, and in the meantime, I got back to Berlin for some weddings and see family in the summer. And I couldn't get back to Australia because of some visa problems. So I was like, right, so what am I going to do? I was like, well, I'm going to start Plant Circle. Because the idea of Plant Circle was already born in Australia. But only when I was here and I was like, I don't know really what to do, I was like, now it's the time to focus. And I've spent a summer on a farm, my grandma's farm in the countryside in Poland, and that's basically where I built the website using templates, and so it was it was really fun. And then I think like 2 months after that, there was the launch party, and I started doing workshops and so on. So it did definitely snowball, and I still, until today, I don't realize how fast it went and how big it is actually. It still feels like I'm just trying,
which is super encouraging for people who are like thinking to do their own thing. And it would be good to maybe know, I guess you never saw yourself doing this, so it's not something that you projected, or I'd like to do that. It's just I followed a passion. The passion turned into the weaving workshops and the plants, and then it was like quite a natural progression.
Yeah, I think quite early on I realized that you don't really sometimes, so when I was a kid, I never really had a clear plan of what I'm going to do. I kept on coming up with new ideas, and I was like, how could I make money to be comfortable in life? And I was like, I'm going to be a baker. and then I was like, but do I want to get up at 4 a.m.? I don't think so. So I'm going to be a lawyer. And then you find out like, oh, it's actually not so easy. I was like, I'll be a judge. And then it's like, it's not easy either. I was like, I like houses, so how about I'll be an architect? They make good money, right? And I kept on jumping from idea to idea. I think the last one was that I'm going to be a politician.
Nice.
And after that, that wasn't the last one. After that, I wanted to go into army, because I was like, that's a place where there's not many women, and I'm going to be, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to be directing men around. And I was like yes, because my dad is also a soldier.
Okay.
So I was like, I'll do that. But then I realized that I actually wanted to get out of Poland and travel and so on. And every job I've ever done in my life, it was kind of like I've learned on the job. And I kind of felt like you can do anything if you really want it, and if you're passionate enough. You can learn most of the things yourself, or you will find a way to gain that knowledge, to gain the experience, and there's really nothing that can possibly stop you.
And so that was the best response ever, because it's basically the reason why we want to do these videos is to show that you can really do what you want to do,
Absolutely.
and that there's just a plethora of information out there. You can do, like, there's lots of websites and stuff now. You can do online learning,
and it's amazing.
Yeah.
We have access to pretty much every book on the planet ever written. And like all the knowledge I have about plants is from internet, and I've read a lot of articles. I've became a member of forums. I didn't even know that they still exist, but I'm just a member of forums. And whenever there are problems, I just chat with people and exchange information and read. And by that, I've learned pretty much everything that I know.
Cool. So I would love to ask now, like, if you could go back to like Monika as a little girl, like what kind of things might you tell her, or any advice you'd give?
I think the most important thing I would tell myself is that it's okay not to know what you want to do with your life, especially as a kid. I think where there's just so much pressure to have a plan. And in my classroom, like, you know, and the teachers ask you always, like, so what do you want to be when you grow up? And I think it's just unnecessary to stress about it when you're a child. That should come later.
Yeah.
Like, enjoy the years that you have, try different things, and you will find it.
Yeah.
But you will find it only through trying and actually, you know, putting your hands on things.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're going to study your entire life for something that finally, when you get to do it, you'll realize that you actually didn't like it.
Absolutely.
So just keep on trying, keep on, you know, doing, and it's okay not to know.
Yeah, and I think we live in a generation where maybe our grandfathers or grandmothers, like, they had a job and they had that for life.
Yes.
And you didn't change. And I think now it's so nice that people are jumping from careers and changing and being like, oh, I'm quite interested in this, I'll go and, like, explore this kind of method. And I think that's what's super important for young girls to know as well, is that you don't have to be so stuck, and you don't have to know, like, when you're younger. It's totally cool to, like, explore many different avenues.
Yeah, and I just met someone who was like, oh, I used to be a gardener and I loved it and it was so relaxing and calming and I miss it, and now I work in film production. And I was like, okay, so people now do it these days. It's amazing that you can, you know, be overnight almost, like, change your life entirely, and there are resources to help you do that. And it's totally fine to go to school late too, and to finish your university in your 30s. And, like, I think just not following the rules strictly is okay.
Yeah,
totally.
And I think that if you might have had a plan for this, and you'd have been like, right, now we need to do this and now we need to do that, it might not have turned out as well as it had, because you've been quite relaxed and followed things you liked and added bits on as you've gone along. It's, like, turned into this amazing
I think
place.
when you plan things, you have those certain expectations and you're trying to fulfill them. And because I never have a plan for anything, which is probably something I should work on too. It's maybe not the best, but I'm always surprised, either in a bad or good way.
Yeah, because I think plans can work. Like, it's good to have some ideas, and I think it's always nice to have things
a little
to work
plan
to, but also don't be so strict. If it doesn't work out, you know, usually it's for the best. And
I work with short-term plans very well. Like, I'm not a big fan of planning long-term, because I think also you can't really predict the future. You can't know what's going to happen in 5 years, and having short-term plans actually works.
So if there's anyone out there watching who's really interested in plants, would like to do maybe something to do with weaving or run their own workshops, like, what would your advice be to them?
Well, I think, first of all, it's nice to find your crowd. When I started weaving, I felt very alone. Like, I couldn't find a workshop to take. I couldn't find a person. Like, nobody was doing it. It was really new. And I searched on Instagram, and I actually met my shop partner now, Anya, through Instagram, who was a weaver. And I just bombarded her with questions. So, like, never be afraid to ask, and, like, look for the people who do similar things, because you can actually learn something from them, or just exchange information. It feels just so much better when you know that there are other people doing the same thing. I think you're just stronger in a pack also, like you find your pack. And don't be afraid. I mean, there are books, you have internet, you have YouTube, there's like tutorials on most of the things, like trying to find your niche. Don't stress yourself. Like if it comes to weaving, I think like the one thing that people always stress about is like finding your own style and doing something different, but just enjoy the process, and all of that is going to come as you keep on making things. And when it comes to plants, I think it's a good idea to take a little course somewhere to learn some facts from a botanist or a gardener or something like that, because there is a lot. There's a lot, and it would take you quite a long time to gain all that knowledge. I've been pretty obsessed with plants for like a year and a half now, constantly reading and trying to find as much information as possible. But I think I will go for a little course myself, like for a few months training, just to learn even more about plants.
It's been really nice to hear like everything about it, and I think we've painted a very lovely picture, and then it is been quite easy for you, but I'm sure there's been times when it's been quite hard, and what's kind of been those times, and how have you kind of worked to get past them?
I think the most difficult one is to be your own boss. It's the best and the worst at the same time, because there is nobody you can rely on for a paycheck. And so it's good to have a little bit of a savings to start with if you want to start your own business. I, however, didn't have any. I started my business using my credit card, and I still cannot believe that was even possible. But I started quite small, and with the time it grew to what we see here. So and also that's another thing, like you shouldn't be expecting too much that it's gonna happen at the very start, but like gradually build it, and it should work out. But I think the most difficult, what I find about having your own business, is one that you're responsible for for yourself, for your paycheck. If you hire someone, you're responsible for another person. That's quite a big responsibility, that you not only have to pay your own rent, but you help the other person pay their rent. Customer service I find quite difficult, because as we know, there are different people, and everybody has different expectations and ways of being, and it's a very humbling experience, and you provide a service, and you have to, it costs you a lot of energy, but I think it's an amazing training also at the same time, and you train your own character, and you become better, and I think in the long run it makes you a better person. Dealing with so many different people. And cool.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We really, really appreciate it, and it's been lovely to learn a bit more about the journey, because as I said, I've kind of watched from afar and seen what you've done and been like super proud, so I think you've done an amazing job. So thank you very much.